And today, Angela is here to share her story of resilience and joy and what it takes to keep a business moving. Literally, we're going to talk about movement in a time and a space where people are undergoing a biggest transformation of their own lives and world. Welcome, Angela.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yay.
I know. I'm so happy to get to chat with you. I've been a fan of your work for years. You were one of the very first blog articles that I wrote in like maybe 2018 when I was starting Movement Maker Collective. And since then, I've written a book and kept the blog going. Some days I feel like like people don't read blogs anymore, but I still write more so for me. And to now having this podcast and Roots and Rebirth, I think it reflects what I've witnessed from just following your journey on social media. Our roots are our origin stories, who we are, maybe our triumphs and our obstacles. But usually it's those obstacles that allow us to have a moment of a rebirth. And for some people, we have tons of rebirths. But that one rebirth, which allows us to have a transformation, and it allows us to be a truer version of ourselves than we were the day before. And so I am so excited for people to learn more about you and your story because I think they will be so inspired by the way that you've walked each day, like one foot in front of the other.
Step by step. Yes. Moment by moment. Well, thank you. It's wild and wonderful to be able to keep up with people via social media. We can have that one moment in 2018 where we met and connected and then kind of keep up with each other along the way. But we were just talking about before we push record about how much has happened for you and your life and your journey. And the same is true for me. So I just appreciate being able to connect with you again, first of all, and then watching you from the sidelines just continue to reinvent yourself. I think that's so important for all women out there as we journey through life.
Well, thank you. And so, for people who might not know your story, you launched this incredible movement. And it's a movement not only for your body, but for people's hearts. And it was tied to fitness. And so, I'd love
Yes.
for you to talk a little bit about REFIT Revolution, why you started it, who your partners are, and what it's that you guys have been doing for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, I love that you use the word movement because it's both a literal and figurative word for me in my business and what we've been doing. So in 2009, I got certified to teach fitness. It was not in my prediction journal. I was not an avid fitness enthusiast at the time. I was just a stay at home mom of three kids who knew that I needed to take care of myself so that I could take care of my littles. And my sort of hilarious story is that I had just had my third child and 1 year old. And so I schlepped myself to the gym and just thought, oh, this will be easy. I just need to kickstart my workout, just get back to a group fitness class. I'm going to start today and get in shape so I can take care of all these kids. And I walked into a body sculpting class and I was at the time young. Yeah, body sculpting class. I was young, 30-ish years old, and I walked in with the full confidence of a woman that truly felt like she could just kick this class's butt. Instead, it kicked mine. I think I was able to make it through 20 minutes of the class and I had to leave. I felt nauseous. I spent the rest of the day on the floor. And I just had this moment where I thought, fitness shouldn't be this hard, you know? And so that's really what started my own personal journey to find a format that was fun, that I loved, that I could show up to with my friends, that made me smile, that brought joy into my body, but also into my heart and into my mind. And so I discovered cardio dance classes and I went from participant to front row to instructor with a different format. And then we started teaching locally here in Waco, teaching anywhere and everywhere that we possibly could. We offered workouts in a lot of churches, community centers, band halls, gymnastics facilities. I mean, you name it, we taught there. I even had a little short stint at Gold's Gym. But we just really focused on creating a fitness experience where people could find belonging.
Mm.
And once we started sharing not only that experience, but that choreography via YouTube, this revolution happened. It was a format that was no longer someone else's format. We were very much teaching our own content, our own workout programming, but more importantly, we were building relationships, like true relationships with our participants and making sure that community stayed at the foundation of that workout experience. And so in 2011, we started our own format. We began certifying instructors across the globe. Um, Today, we offer instructor certifications in person and online. We travel and do workout events. And we've been going now for about 12 plus years since then. And I will say that what the heart of REFIT is that we have this principle. It's actually painted on our wall here at our HQ and studio, where it says, every body belongs. And we're talking about the physical body. And so what I love that we do is that we take mostly women, few men, but women who would never darken the door of a gym because they don't feel that they're the right size, the right shape, the right age, they don't have the right friends, they don't have the right outfit. We remove those barriers and we create this welcome home experience from front door to workout floor. And I love that when you walk into a refit class, you literally see an 80-year-old widow standing beside a college professor, standing beside an 18-year-old high school student, and everything in between. And that really is what the revolution is all about. It's shifting focus from physical transformation and connecting to internal transformation and making sure that that's done in a community, because we believe that most long lasting change comes when you do it in a community of people who believe in you.
I mean, like, you just said so much there, and so much that resonates with me. I just even talking about the purpose of your workout and your guiding principle that every body belongs. I can't tell you how many times, at a younger age, I'd walk in a Gold's Gym and I felt like my body did not belong there. I could drop it like it is hot, but I wasn't dropping the pounds like, I was hot. But, and so you get this sense of like you don't belong there. You don't see people like you. And then you begin to feel a sense of shame. Like I haven't done enough to look like everyone else here. So I don't want to get on this treadmill next to this skinny chick with her ponytail perfect that's just bopping on the top of her head because they're judging me when truly you're only judging yourself because you haven't done the work internally and externally. So you've removed that barrier for people to simply show up and belong.
Yes. Now we've tried. I always tell people the biggest hurdle in starting your workout and showing up for a workout is mental, and it's your own obstacle to overcome, right? We have to get over ourselves first. But I do think that for most everyone who steps into a refit class for the first time, they are met with such a different version of what they thought that fitness experience was going to be like, in that it is truly welcoming. And a lot of that, and you probably know this, but a lot of what we created in terms of that foundational community approach came from our own pain of feeling a lack of belonging or not feeling a sense of belonging. Um, I grew up as the only Asian American in my really small East Texas town. And so I've spent my whole life not feeling like I looked like the other girls, that I didn't belong because I was the only one with that ethnicity. So I think the pain that I felt in my early years, feeling alone in that journey, has now given me more compassion, more empathy, and more advocacy for making sure that everyone can feel a sense of belonging in the spaces that they show up to.
So beautiful. And you have partners in this endeavor, one who has a fun, like, tie-in to a TV show. We have got to tell people about that. They'll love that trivia fact. but you haven't done this alone. I love for you to share just what did it mean to do this along the side of others?
Yeah.
How did that also fill your cup?
Yeah. So I have two best friends and business partners. We started out, well, actually, we didn't know each other until we were in a fitness class together. And from there, we began teaching fitness together. And then, of course, as the idea for our own business, our own format to be brought to life, we had to put our hands in and commit to each other. And you hear a lot of recommendations from people about not going into business with family, not going into business with friends. But I will say that both Emily, that's partner number one, and Catherine, that's my partner number two, the only way that we would have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished for the length of time that we've been doing this is because of the friendship. Doesn't mean that there haven't been highs and lows, but it just means that there was that friendship commitment first that served as the foundation for then that business partnership and the overall growth and success for the business. It probably doesn't work for everyone because girls don't do well oftentimes when there's a threesome, but it has worked well for us. And I think it's because we each bring that special something to our business partnership, but then also to our community at large.
And you all have taken that friendship and the pizzazz that you have from your dance floors or your headquarter floors to podcasts. So you also have a podcast together, right?
Yeah, we had a podcast for a short amount of time. I do want to give some props to you right now. Podcasting is so fun, but I don't think people realize how much work goes into it. From the prep to the actual conversation to the editing to the distribution. And so we love doing it. In fact, just this morning, Catherine texted and said, I want to get back to podcasting because it's such thoughtful, intentional, one-on-one conversation that I think in today's society, you really have to fight for that kind of time together. So we've loved doing it. We did a couple of seasons, but we've been on very much an extended break, but we're hoping to get back to it at some point.
But you're right. What I've enjoyed about this is one, getting to meet people that I've admired and have wanted to meet, but also it's allowed me opportunities like this to catch up with people I haven't spoken to in a long time. And there's never been a moment where I've left and I haven't been inspired by someone or haven't learned something new. And so it is something that there's really cool in just having it and having that space where you can just really reconnect. So I hope that you guys, get back to your mics.
Yeah, I was telling you again before we started recording, but last night I did listen to my first one of your podcasts, and I just admired the storytelling approach and then desire to tell stories. I mean, I think we all love talking about ourselves and love sharing our own stories, but I love when I see thought leaders and people like you who are truly inspirational open the door to encourage other people to come and share those stories as well.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I love about you, and I know, is that faith is embedded in everything that you do, and over the last couple of years, I've grown to realize I'm both very religious and spiritual. And I've been listening to the God winks and my intuition. But you've talked about it before, that faith shows up for you in your words, in your work, in your leadership. I'd love for you just to give us a little peek under the hood and tell us, how does spirituality, guide your decisions and the way that you show up each and every day?
Hey y'all, it's Terri. I believe in soul work that sticks. And that's why I've partnered with Lumenkind to create my very own mindful mark packs, Movement Maker, and the Great Me Set. Whether you're moving through a loss, leading a movement, or just need to hit pause with purpose, there's a mark for that. Head over to lumenkind.com and use Terri15 to get 15% off. Let's wear our intentions, have a mindful moment, and walk in purpose every day. You're a brighter being, and I'm cheering you on.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here. And I'll say that I think, much like you, my own faith journey has sort of shape shifted as I've gotten older and moved in and out of different seasons. And honestly, as it should, right? I think as we're kind of journeying through life, you should be picking up different pieces, different thoughts, different approaches to the way that you integrate faith or spirituality into your own personal journey. Refit did start off, we were teaching in a lot of churches, and most of the content that we were creating back in 2011 was using Christian music. And so we did start off with this very overt faith approach. And to this day, you still will see remnants of that. We still utilize Christian music. You will see us and a lot of our instructors still pray after class. But there was sort of a point in that trajectory when we realized two things. Number one, we realized that faith can be very personal to every individual. And what we didn't want to do was come in so hard with our faith and our prescription for what that should look like that we ostracized someone who maybe wasn't on the same leg of the journey as we were on. The second thing is when you put something on your wall and you live from a value where you say everybody belongs. Yeah. Physically, yes, everybody belongs, but we also believe that in terms of every individual. And so along the way, we had people who came into those quote unquote Christian spaces that maybe did not have a faith of their own, or maybe were curious, and maybe we're never going to get there in the traditional sense of living out a faith-filled life or quote unquote the Christian life. But we still believe that staying in conversation with those people and being curious about who they are and, what they struggle with was just as important as catering to our own Christian community. And so over the years, we have just taken a step back in pursuit of relationship first. And if those conversations lead to questions about faith or spirituality, we absolutely welcome that. But what we desire more is to create spaces where people can bring their whole selves, the broken pieces of their journey, their questions about faith, their lack thereof. And then, of course, people that have the strongest of faith journeys. We desire to create this space where truly everyone can wrestle with all of those differing points in their journey and still be a community of friends and supporters in the midst. And it's hard because I would say that we are often too Christian for people that don't have a Christian background or faith, and maybe not Christian enough for people that have a very strong Christian faith. And so we're just constantly weathering the tension of both of those camps. And it's been hard, but it's exactly the heart of who we are as a business, as individuals, and as a community.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for being so transparent because a lot of times, we might have a great intention and we don't realize that, we think we might be making a decision that is in alignment with where we want to go. But if you were thinking it's just for everybody, it might leave some people behind, but it takes a stronger, smart, and loving person to go back and say, no, let's bring everyone along and make these changes because they were very public changes so that we can serve in the way that we always intended to serve.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've seen God move in a church, obviously. We've seen God move to a Pitbull song. We've seen God move on the floor of a club in Austin, Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like he can move anywhere. So we're just going to let him be him, do his job, do his thing. And in the meantime, just continue to bring people into the safest place possible, despite background, political views, value system, etc.
And also, let's call a spade a spade. You all are in Waco. That's where, your headquarters. Waco is known for being like a very Christian-led community. And a lot of people know it as home of the Magnolia or the Dr. Pepper Museum or
David Fresh.
But, a lot of people wear their Christian, label on their sleeve each day. So for you all to make that decision was very courageous.
Yes. And, I think Waco has been very good to us, right? It's let us try and experiment and succeed and fail. And I think the thing is, Waco or not, and you probably can align with this, when you are so not only just passionate about what you're doing, but when you have such a strong, clear vision of not only who you are, but who you want to serve, it really helps keeps blinders on as you're building your business or building your community, that it really doesn't matter. Like the haters from the stands, it doesn't matter because we sort of have this bigger vision. I always think about like parenting. Maybe we make decisions for our kids that the children don't understand, right? But it's because they don't have the full vision. They don't understand where I, as a parent, want them to end up as an adult. And so it's not that you disregard when they're questioning the decision, but it's just you trust your own decision making, which helps make you a better leader.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I keeping it authentically, so many people might look at your Instagram or they might look at your website. You are gorgeous. You are so fit. Your family's all gorgeous. Your business is thriving. How do you live in a space that allows you the grace to be yourself and to live authentically when the world might have this vision of you that you are perfection? It's a lot for someone to hold, and both can be true, you know, but how do you do that and still allow Angela to be Angela?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit because, as you know, but your listeners may not, I just celebrated my 50th birthday. And that was really hard emotionally. Like to even say the words 50 or to or have someone ask how old I am and to have to admit to being 50 is a little bit of an ego bruiser. I don't feel 50, but I am sort of daily being reminded physically that I am. I'm starting to see more wrinkles and sags and places that I didn't used to. And at the same time, I have grown up in front of the camera publicly in as a fitness leader for the past 15 years. And so you can't hide what's happening to my body. I can't hide aging. I mean, I can with filters and things like that, but that doesn't feel very honest, or authentic. And so, first of all, there's nothing perfect about my family or my life. That is the myth and the fallacy of social media. Is we all get to present our best selves, our best pictures, our, most filtered editions of our lives. And so it's a glimpse, it's a snapshot. It's not the whole picture. But one thing I've tried to do is live a life of what I call alarming honesty or alarming authenticity. And that means I would rather tell someone my deep seated insecurities and fears. I would rather own my voice and my words and the way that that truth is shared in the world versus being afraid of what people are saying about me. And so, what that looks like is I would rather go to social media and say, I am 50 and I hate it and I don't like it and it's not fun, rather than being like, I'm 50 and it's great, or even trying to shape shift the way that I physically look with filters and such that I don't look 50 at all. I would rather just say it and own it and let me own the way that that truth gets out into the world versus being afraid of what's being said about me. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think when you can just own the thing, yeah, when you can just own the thing that you're scared of about yourself, it gives power back to you versus giving other people power over you.
Well, I mean, and for someone who loves for people to feel part of a community, I mean, everybody feels that way, you know? I just turned 47 and I like menopause is like every day, like I'm here. The door is cracked. Like I'm in a perimenopause. And it's just wild what happens to your body and who you are and your thoughts. But, we can't let that stop us in any way. And so I love that you're saying, like, let's just be real. Let's talk about it because it's not going away. but it will also, like, inspire people to have conversations that probably they would never have with you, you know? And so I've the last couple of months, I've noticed that when something is happening, I'm like, "Look, I can't think today. I have perimenopausal brain." Or, or like I recently have just gained 10 pounds in a month, which is, like, wild, but it happens at this stage. We're all starting conversations within the friend group, the hair salon group, the work group, where everyone has a story to tell and we're laughing about it. So you go from this place of where you might inject a little fear or shame to when you find that community where you can truly have a laugh and realize I am not alone and it's going to be okay.
Uh, well, first of all, no one here believes you're 47. So it's not fine.
Hot calling kettle black.
You need to go check your birth certificate because we don't. And secondly, yeah, we call it. I often say that people are intrigued by perfection, but they are transformed by authenticity. Think about it, like when you're in a group of girlfriends or even random strangers, when you share the perfect moments of your life, you kind of get that. Oh, wow, that's so great.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
When you show up and you say, ladies, perimenopause has literally kicked my butt. I can't think straight. I'm so disorganized. And then what happens? That same group of people, they're all, me too, sharing their stories. They get it. There's empathy, there's compassion. No one is inspired by perfection. We're shamed by it. And so I just think, let's keep people in conversation and connected. Let's say the hard things, the authentic things, the honest things.
Amen. I love it. You are like lighting a fire underneath me today. Well,
Well,
you guys have like trained thousands of instructors all over the world, like you said. You have thousands of people who have participated in your movement, to get people to move. What is it that you hope people will get, when the lights go off at Refit, when you decide that the lights will go off or whatever it is, if you guys have another pivot and do something different, or if one day you say, I will do Refit and something else, whatever it is, what do you hope that people carry with them every day that will remind you of this joyful legacy you've created?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we had this business coach that acts as our mentor and sometimes our business therapist, if you will. And I remember him asking a couple of years ago, a lot of times business coaches come in with those very traditional questions. Where do you want to be in 10 years? What do you want to do with the business? Where do you see yourself? And I struggle with that because it feels like I'm supposed to come up with the right answer. But one day our business coach said, what is your life's purpose? Could you say that in a couple of sentences? What is your life's purpose? And I didn't even think about it. And I just blurted it out. And ever since then, it was like, this is what I'm made to do. My life's purpose is to help women get off the sideline of their own lives and onto center court. Another way to say it would be to help a woman get out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat of her own life. And what I would hope is that when people experience refit, that that empowerment piece comes into play. I see it all the time because if you look at our fitness instructors, they don't look like normal fitness instructors. In fact, we have a shirt that says, not your average fitness instructor, because we know the fitness instructors that are bebopping around town are typically the people that you would never say, oh yeah, she's a fitness instructor. We're not rocking the 6-pack abs. We're not walking around in a sports bra. We're not eating our 5,000 grams of protein and media. You know what I'm saying? Like we are normal people, but we are people on the journey. And what I love and what I've heard over and over and over again are the instructors, men and women, who say, I never thought that I could do this. But we've given them that foundation of support and empowerment. We've been their biggest cheerleaders. And when you can change a way that a woman sees herself, you change the trajectory of all of her life, but also her small or large circle of influence, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the big thing is that I believe in the broken woman, not the healed woman, not the woman that has been able to turn pain into purpose and now tell the story of it. That's good. I believe in that too. But I believe in the broken woman because she's the one that wants to create a different story for herself. And in some ways, she's the most motivated and inspired to do it. And so I just want to see, I want to see more of that. I want to see more broken women raise their hand and still say, I still have worth. I still have value. I don't have it together. I'm not perfect. I'm in pieces. I'm in shambles, but I can still make impact in this world.
I'm like, you better get it. I love it. It's so good. And, when I was thinking of what to call this podcast, I landed on Roots and Rebirth. And it took me like 4 months to even figure it out, probably longer. But, our roots are who we are, that origin story. The origin story sometimes we just tell ourselves, but also, the triumphs that we might have. And, and most of the time, what really shapes us is the obstacles
Yeah.
and the things that we've had to overcome. And I believe when we overcome those obstacles, many times there's a rebirth, there's a moment where we wake up and we're like, this is the truest version of who I am. And we'll have several rebirths in our lives, but each one we learn more about ourselves. And so, what I love about for you and the way that you lay out that purpose is I want to help women get from the sidelines to the center court. That gives you such a permission slip to do so many things in life. And so it might be the fitness class one day. It might be talking to someone at a grocery store the next day or preaching like we do when we're, getting our hair colored and it's in there for 30 minutes, you know? So it's just this beautiful gift that you've given yourself that you might not even see every day just by honing in on what you believe that purpose to be. And like, oh my gosh, like how many rebirths can you have from that one statement?
Yeah. How many? I don't know. I hope until the end of our lives, right? I think too, even thinking about your journey and the things that you've gone through that you've been very transparent about as well. I mean, wouldn't you say that the biggest points of rebirth happen at that convergence of pain and where you currently are, like your current point of life and that pain moment, right? I know we can change and transform through good things too, but it feels like the biggest transformation happens at that pain point.
Absolutely. And in the last couple of years, I have kind of shifted my thinking. When I decided I wanted to get divorced, I first of all, I didn't tell anyone. Um, I started to realize like I was still mulching what happened, digesting what was going on. But every time I told someone, it was the band-aid was ripping every time. And then you're getting their reaction. So you're also having to carry that emotional baggage of what they are mulching when you're still going through your own.
Wow.
And so what that allowed me to do was look at every day from a lens of how might I create the life that I want? How might I live today with joy? How might I find abundance today? Instead of, oh, I got to get on the phone with a divorce attorney.
Right.
When you think about it as this is allowing me to do exactly what I'm supposed to do. And quite honestly, Angela, like when I started to figure out like something had to change, most people would have been like, what are you talking about? If I would have said it out loud, they would have thought I was crazy. Like we were on covers of magazines, we were perfect on paper. And truly, everything that I thought was a struggle was something we probably could have gotten over with therapy, but there was this voice in my head that kept saying, if you stay here, you will not be the person I intend you to be. And for 2 years, I couldn't shake that. And so when you understand that, it becomes so easy to say, how might I find abundance here and move closer to that with ease each day.
Mm.
So absolutely. You are right. The rebirths are what, empower us and give us the fuel just to keep it moving.
Yeah. And when you think about how much courage it takes to move forward in the face of pain, in the midst of pain, really it is the broken woman that actually should be celebrated the most. because she's had, to your point, having to carry the most for herself and for all of the people around her as well.
Yeah, when I did tell people that I got divorced, I wrote a blog article about it. I thought that was the easiest way to let everyone know. But I also wouldn't let anyone say, I'm sorry. It's like, no, this is a moment to celebrate. I'm excited about what is ahead. And so it's, also cheering each other on once we've made those courageous decisions to take that first step towards faith.
Yeah, I love that. See, that's empowering to all of us, whether it's a divorce or a major decision. I think that these are the kind of conversations that I get excited about because someone out there is going to listen to this and make a really good decision for herself because of where we've been in our journeys, right? And that makes all the pain that we've been through feel so purposeful.
Yes. But like, I just got goosebumps as you said that. Oh my gosh. But speaking of joy, what brings you joy in your life these days?
Oh, I am a very practical person. And so, I really think about the practical ways that I find joy. And as I'm telling into my 50s, I do find that simpler things bring me joy, which is probably common for people in my age and beyond. I had the most radical 49th year of my life. I think I traveled to like 15 different places in 6 months, everywhere from Costa Rica to Wyoming and beyond. And it just was a stellar way to end my 40s. And so I think that's a good springboard for finding more moments of joy that aren't quite so wild and adventurous. I'm finding joy in slowing down. My family and I recently took a trip to Italy, which was our second trip there, but a different part. And I was able to kind of touch something that I haven't touched before on any other trip I've been on, which is this slow, thoughtful, intentional pace of life. And I'm talking about simple things like long meals
Mhm.
and restaurants that don't rush you out because they're trying to turn over the table for the next customer, but a culture and a lifestyle where it's good food, good people, good conversation, where you are physically walking everywhere. So there's added health benefits and just this. I did not feel the pressure to hustle and grind the way that I feel at times here in the US. And so I left that vacation with the desire to look at this season ahead and figure out how can I live more slowly and more thoughtfully.
Yeah.
I haven't unlocked that just yet, but I do feel like when I figure out what that looks like for me, right? Because it can't be Italian Tuscan countryside.
Every day, right?
Yeah, but when I figure out, I know I'll be able to kind of tap into a level of joy that I haven't had before. Aside from that, I've got a grandbaby and one on the way, and and I'm also a new empty nester. So I have this like weird convergence of no longer being a mom with kids in my house, but also being a grandparent, which is a different form of parenting. So that's been really fun for me. And I think just for the first time in my life, I've been a mom since I was 19. And so for the first time, having access to freedom in a very different way than I've ever had it before. Time is mine. My days are mine. I can really do what I want when I want without having a child's schedule to keep up with. And that's bringing me a lot of joy, but also a lot of rebirthing, I think, as well. To figure out who I am.
I was about to say that. You have a total clean slate and rebirth ahead, and that is so exciting. But I'm not surprised to hear you say that right now, what your soul needs is just to slow down. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had lately where everyone is saying that there's something that happens once you hit 45 where you want to double down on that inner peace, So I pretty much don't listen to TV anymore unless I'm being intentional about watching like a movie. Um, After I end the day at work, I'm turning on classical music, or right now I'm into um, coffee shop covers.
Yeah.
So They'll be singing like a coffee shop tune and it'll be like, "Back that thing up." Not literally, but like you get the picture.
Yeah.
It's a vibe and this inner peace that you wanna create. But I love that you touched on long dinners, conversations, and walks because we often think that we can't control the environment around us to have that inner peace, but we totally can. So
Yeah.
for me yesterday, it was taking a hike. Uh, you know, that brought the peace that I needed after a very long work day.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and you do a lot of this, I'm learning to do more of this, but a lot of what I've heard you talking about on your podcast is a lot of it is internal work. And I think what is hard about living a slower paced life is for a lot of us, we don't even know what that means. And it's different for everyone. And so for you, it might be a hike and you have to do a lot of self identification. Did that feel good? Do I feel restful? Was that a stressful thing? Did that accomplish what I wanted it to accomplish? And tune in so that you can course correct if that's not actually what slowing down means. For me, I know one of the things that has helped me slow down is I wake up without alarms. I let myself sleep as much as my body needs, unless I have, something that I have to commit to. But if it's just a random day and I don't have to wake up on time, I let my body sleep. I let it determine how much sleep it needs. That's not common for women.
Yeah.
We like to present that we are so busy. We're the first one up. We're the last one to sleep. And we're going to get the house ready and running before any feet hit the floor. And that feels very noble. And it's almost shameful to say, nope, some days I'm sleeping in until 8:15. Right. No one wants to admit that. But that is the gift that I've given to my body in this season. And it has helped me embrace learning to live a little slower.
Well, what do you think is ahead? What does life and work look like for the next 10 years?
Hey, y'all, it's Terri. At Roots and Rebirth, we talk a lot about legacy, and salt is creating when we're celebrating. When you choose salt products, you're not only choosing sustainable period care, you're helping a girl stay in school through their Africa based donations and education programs. Ring a bell? Maybe because I featured salt in 2018 on my blog, movementmakercollective.com. As Sherry Saltzfinder says, one menstrual cup can break the cycle of poverty for generations. And she means it. Join the movement. Go to salt.co and use Terri for 15% off because change starts here and it starts with you.
Oh, well, on the journey of life, sometimes the best plans, have little reroutes. And I think the reroute that I'm currently in, again, just being completely honest here, is that, last week my husband was diagnosed with some pretty severe heart disease, and he is going to have an open heart surgery and a triple bypass the first week of September. So, ready or not for a slow season, I am going to step into a caretaker role for him, which means a lot of things that maybe I had planned for the fall, it's going to take a little bit of a backseat. And so, we're still kind of wrapping our heads and our minds around that new journey. So I don't know. At this point, I'm not thinking too far ahead because I know I have this short-term mountain that we're going to climb together. But after that, I'll regroup and hopefully we'll get all the good news that we need from that upcoming surgery, and I'll be able to figure out what life looks like after that.
Yes, you're such a gorgeous and generous soul for just sharing that with us. A lot of times when we just get something that's unexpected and it could be fearful, we don't want to say it out loud. So you are giving someone a masterclass on so much today, but for even, being able to speak it and share that for you, it means maybe shifting your priorities so that you can be fully present for your husband and all for your family right now. That's just a gorgeous lesson that you're teaching us. Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I know that it feels really packaged right now. I can say those words, but I know that I'm going to need my community in a very real way over the next several weeks. And I'm just so thankful to have some people to lean on. We're not made to do hard things like this alone.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I will, and I know a lot of people who are listening will keep you in our prayers and lift you with positive light so that you can feel supported and protected at all times.
You. Yeah. Thanks.
So I know so many people are going to want to follow you, see the revolution that Refit creates each and every day, see what happens to you in these next 10 years and cheering you and your husband on in this next season of your rebirth. How can they follow you?
Yeah. So I would love for them to connect with Refit. We have a lot of local classes all over the world. And so our Instagram handle is Refit Rev, REV is in Victor for Refit Revolution. And then, of course, they can find me on Instagram at Angela_Beeler.
Thank you so much for your time and just showing us your inner and outer beauty. I love this so much because you reminded us that fitness is not just about our bodies, it's about transformation and finding joy one step at a time. If you guys are listening, I hope you've enjoyed this. And don't forget that transformation starts when you tend to your roots and water them well so that you can allow for a rebirth. Don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast. You can find me at all things Terri Broussard Williams and movementmakercollective.com. Hey, y'all, hey. Now you know all this stuff, but before I go, a reminder, the content shared on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Okay, that's right. I am no professional. If you need a medical, mental health, or other professional support, please consult a qualified expert. Till next time, I'm cheering you on.